Ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, this is going to be well worth the delay because our guest here, you might want to say, is worldwide. You might want to say our guest is universal. And what better way to kick off another night on Sportswire Radio in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, with a man that is a worldwide universal champion. But ladies and gentlemen, the reason that we're here tonight, as a matter of fact, is because, well, our guest decided after hearing a who's who of other people that came onto this platform, he decided he wanted to come on here and share his side of the things. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to give our guest that opportunity. I'm going to make him famous, as some would say, or maybe more famous than he already, because after all, he is a lot more famous than me. He is worldwide and universal. So, obviously, I might only be a little small potato in the world, but he is still worldwide and universal. But all kidding aside, I'm excited about our guest because, our guest, you might want to say, is a triple threat. And sure, we speak with people all over the place. In the backyard, the underground, the hardcore, the independent, and the pro wrestling circuit at this point. I just say it's all wrestling matches, but to me, it's like Baskin Robbins. There's 31 flavors. But our guest is a triple threat. Why, you might ask? Yes, we know him as the worldwide universal champion in future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. I'll get to that. That's coming up in 20 days where he defends that title. But he's also a rapper. He's also a podcaster. Maybe he's the guy, after all, to take over Sportswire Radio. He's a lot better looking. He's a champion. He speaks better than me. He's funny. He's a guy that obviously everybody knows in Atlanta. Atlanta's the center of it all. But I'm now going to give our guest his side of the story. Because after all, he ain't got no heart of a warrior. He don't need to have a heart of a warrior. He don't need to be Mr. Hardcore. He is, quote unquote, the future. And maybe that's stealing a phrase from somebody that mentored him, but I'll get to that. But since we are here and you've been waiting for it, it's time to give our guest that introduction that so many get here on Sportswire Radio from time to time. And it is obviously my great honor to give our guest that worldwide universal introduction in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it and introduce the champion. So, with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Wire. Number one, sports show. You might call him a triple threat. You most certainly call him the reigning, defending, future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion. His name is, simply put, the RJ The champ is here. Champ, how you doing tonight?
What an introduction. What an introduction. God damn, that's an introduction for a great champion like myself. I need that.
I had to give you a worldwide universal introduction because, after all, you're a worldwide universal champion. Now, obviously, you're a triple threat. Yes, I know you're a podcaster now. You're obviously in my world. You do rap music. You also were a pretty good champion. So I had to give you that worldwide universal champion because, after all, I mean, I'm just little old me, little small potatoes on the Richter scale, and I had to make sure that on this one here, it was a lot more worldwide and universal. And maybe to quote a few hip hop songs, I had to make them recognize. I had to make them recognize that we have the only Andre Anomaly here on Sportswire Radio. But how you doing, my friend, and what's going on tonight?
I'm feeling good, feeling great, feeling good. I can't complain. I've been sitting back watching these interviews, and I've kind of been getting pissed off. You feel me? I really kind of been getting pissed off because at the end of the day, you can overlook everybody you want, but one thing you will not overlook, and that is the future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion, Andre Anomaly. I'm sorry. It just cannot happen. It will not happen. It will not stand on my watch. And come August 24th, last man standing, me and Dale Bourne, we're going to war. And I hope he's ready.
Well, we're going to find out. And, I want you to talk about some of those things tonight. I want you to tell me why you feel you might be overlooked. I want you to tell our audience on what's ahead on August the 24th. And I'm going to go right for the jugular champ because I'm going to put the poster up here shortly in a second. I'm going to obviously get into some of it. I think you are kind of referring to what Mr. Hardcore had said a few weeks ago on the platform when he announced the match. So I'm going to go right to it here because I know you talked on Instagram. You obviously did an Instagram video and you kind of addressed some of this, but I'm going to give you the opportunity right now. I'm going to give you the floor. For those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, the only Andre Anomaly, the reigning defending future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion. What can we expect August the 24th between you and the badass Del Bourne in that last man standing match for your championship?
Well, to understand what you can expect, you have to know the origin of this. And the origin of this story starts in our first match. Me and Dale, we put on a banger for the time limit that we had, but he capitalized off a mistake that I made and somehow has created this famous move, spin the block. Now,
Okay.
in retrospect, I was looking at it like I'm honored to be able to help one find themselves a finisher. But I started to think about it. This move has become a nuisance to me.
Okay.
So the next match me and Dale had was a triple threat match. In this match, he proceeds to do the move on me. I seen it coming a mile away, stopped it in his tracks. But he countered me, and I went down. I'm trying to get up. He catches the other guy with the spin the block and wins the match. After that match, I proceeded to take him out, like I should have. And I know he feels some type of way about that because his people were there. They were all chanting, yeah. Who had the last laugh? Me.
Well, you're the guy with the belt right now. I'm looking at you as the champion.
Yes, and for this title, he has been gunning for it for the longest. He's been asking for this. And I'm not going to give it to him. No. This is earned. You have to earn it. This is my respect. You want my respect? Show me. Or else I remain the most respected.
I could see it means a lot to you to be the future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion. Tell me why that belt that you're holding right now means so much.
This championship means so much because it came from a good place. This championship represents the weight that I carry on my shoulders for my family.
You
This
spoke
is what
about that in that promo. You spoke
represent.
about your family in that promo on Instagram. Tell us about that a little more.
Well, um, in December of 2022, we suffered from a real bad car accident that kind of gave my daughter a traumatic brain injury. She's doing way better now.
Good.
So,
Good.
there's no problems there, but there's a burden there for me. And that day showed me that if I don't protect this family, if I don't stand for my family, I could lose them at any moment. And I'm not losing nothing. So August 24th, it's more than just a championship match. This belt, this championship, sit it down, it's just a belt.
Yeah.
It's about who and what is representing this championship when it's on this shoulder.
You just mentioned something, and I know people are in the chat. I'm going to say hello to some friends. I'm sure we'll get into quite a conversation or so over the next little while, but that's a pretty traumatic thing. What happened to you and your wife about your daughter? And for the audience out there, and I don't like to mingle personal with what we do here each and every night. I really actually do shy away from it for a number of reasons. But in this particular case, since you kind of brought it up, champ, how does that impact you on a day in a day basis to do what you want to do, which is go out there and be the future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion? How is that experience dealing with what happened with your daughter? How has that impacted you in your career?
It has motivated me. It has motivated me on levels that I never actually thought that I would be able to touch or do. So it is a big motivation for me. Every day I look at her and I get motivated. There's not a time that I sit around and just think, no, I don't feel like doing this today. No. When she comes in this room and smiles at me, I'm her hero. I'm the hero of this family. I'm the chief without the tribal. If you did what I'm saying.
Well, he kind of actually doesn't really have the tribe either anymore for referring to that same person. That was a funny one. But, it's interesting because I could see tonight in the way you conduct yourself, you come across like a champion. Now, obviously, I've seen a little bit of you in the ring. I saw a show you guys did last year. Obviously, Mr. Hardcore has mentioned you a bit. That's kind of why you're here. Certainly, Mr. Storm. I know a little bit of your background. I'm sure I'll come into that. But there are guys that come on the platform, and sure, they're holding a belt, but yeah, anybody could hold a belt. I mean, let's be honest. We're in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. I mean, I'm sure everybody's been a champion in some form. It's almost like when I was in fifth grade, we got a participation prize basically for being in. It was Arista Archon and Honor Roll, and I think I was in both of them. Whatever it was, it didn't make a difference, right? But the point is that everybody gets in some form a participation trophy. But in this particular case, the way I'm listening to you tonight, going into August the 24th, you're coming across like a champion. Not only are you fighting for what you've built as the future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion against the badass Del Bourne. Sounds like when you're doing this coming up here in 20 days from now, you're also fighting for your family. Is that a fair statement for me to bring up?
Fair for me.
Yeah.
Not for Del.
Well, I mean, Del's not here. It's more about you're the champion. I'm
Definitely
talking to
fair
you,
for
and
me.
I think that
I think it's a very fair statement because at the end of the day, like there is nothing else that I have. There's nothing else I have. So if I'm not fighting for my family, then why am I living? I mean, the whole point of having to get up every morning and go to work is to fight for your family to eat. In some way, shape, form, or fashion, we are fighting for our livelihood. Whether it's to eat, whether it's to be able to travel, whether it's to have the lights on, whether it's to keep the gas on the stove. We're fighting. And that's what this represents.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I think a lot of people, I hear this all the time. People say, well, I'm going out there because I have to live. I have to put a roof over my head. And, you're the one that has the family. And I don't. And I have all the appreciation and respect for you. But, I want to go back to another thing. I want to really focus more on the wrestling world, because obviously we're glad your daughter is doing better. And I want to talk about future Atlanta Pro Wrestling champ, because you've mentioned a lot about Del Bourne, and it seems to me, now tell me your thoughts on this. I guess over the past, I don't know, whatever it's been, year or so, give or take, it seems to be that's the feud that it just seems to continue. So I ask you then, why has he been such a nuisance for you over these past several months? You've talked about the different matches you've gone through, but it seems like, if I were to equate it, you guys are almost the yin and yang. You guys are almost like, I hate to put terms out there for basketball fans. They're going to say, oh, maybe you're really giving Andre credit. But it almost reminds me of, Steph and LeBron the last decade in the NBA Finals. It reminds me almost of Magic and Larry Bird in the 80s. It reminds me of the Tim Duncan and Shaq in the Western Conference, the Spurs and the Lakers back in the late 90s, early 2000s. You look at rivalries, and it seems like this is the premier rivalry in future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Am I off base, or is there something to that? You and him have been this premier rivalry time and time again over the past year.
Honestly, to me, it seems like the most slept on.
Why?
Because at the end of the day, nobody wanted me to be in this position. Nobody wanted me to be a champion at all. I was the sound guy, as some would say. I was supposed to be quiet and be in the back. Nah. In this case, I'm LA Knight. In this case. And for Dale, it's a point of you're taking it too lightly. I see your promos. You all kick back. You're at the sauna. You're at the gym, and you just, hey, can't wait for our match. And one thing I do want to touch on,
sure,
that I feel like Mr. Hardcore was wrong on is I'm not going into this match with aggression, because aggression don't beat intelligence. And I'm not going into this match laid back. Dale is making that mistake. Approaching me in a laid back form in a match, like a last man standing match, could cost you. Maybe even your career. Who knows?
Oh, listen, I think that's a fair point. I'll touch upon the laid back in a second. I'm going to put up the Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling YouTube page up in a second. I want to thank, obviously, if I could break the fourth wall for a minute, I want to thank Jermaine Hardwick, and I want to thank, obviously, Mr. Hardcore for their continued support of Sportswire Radio and granting us the opportunity to speak with you. And I'll say hello to some people in the chat. But let me ask you this question. I'm curious about this. I know there's going to be guys that watch this in our circuit, and I do these from time to time, guys that are in a last man standing. But you going into this, we're 20 days from now. How do you go out and prepare for a last man standing match?
My preparation for this last man standing match, tell you.
Yes.
I can't tell you the preparation.
Well, don't tell me. Well, obviously, I'm going to make you chuckle. And this is because I've probably done, I don't know, probably 1,000. I've interviewed probably, no joke, probably about 1,000 wrestlers all around the world. So, and I've done this for 6 years. So the tape is there. So my advice would be, yes, don't tell me exactly what you're going to do, because obviously your opponent's going to find out, and probably everybody in your locker room and this circuit's going to find out. But in terms of, let me ask you a different question, which will kind of tie into it and give me still at least a good enough an answer for the audience. Do you prepare differently for a match like this versus, let's say, a normal title match?
Definitely. Because that's it's fair. A last man standing. Anything can happen.
Sure.
and I'm taking different proper precautions, especially with my body, to make sure that when I go into this match, I can complete it in its full entirety and still be a healthy enough champion to come out and win that Royal Rumble. Wouldn't that be a swerve?
Well, you know, it's funny you said that because I was going to go talk about that in a few minutes. I'm going to put up the Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling page shortly on YouTube. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. And I'm very excited to have on the only Andre Anomaly. He is also the reigning defending Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion. And it was certainly worth the delay because the champion is coming out swinging. I like this tonight because sometimes I have guys that come on here and it's like, let's go. We're in prime time. I've had some interviews, unfortunately, in the last week and a half that have been, some of them have been, well, they've been, to quote, I'm going to quote Madonna here, borderline, whatever is, you're a rapper. At least you're going to say, boy, he's quoting Madonna. But the point is that this is definitely not one of them. But, I'm wondering on this, and I'm curious for the audience, and you talked about, obviously, the training. Okay, training's different. I got that. You talked about, obviously, your opponent. But, going into a match like this, is there a lot of pressure on you?
Everyday life is a pressure.
Okay.
So, with that being said, this match, it's a little pressure. I would say a little bit of pressure, but not too much. It's nothing I can't handle. If I have went through a lot, just in my life.
You spoke about that with your daughter. I mean, going through a car accident, a brain injury, by God, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah, even before that though, like I've been going through things like I haven't even explained, and I won't begin to explain, but that alone was pressure. You feel what I'm saying? And this match is pressure, and it's gonna be hell pressure on Dale. That's all I can tell you. After that, when the bell rings, the pressure is lifted off of me and going right to him.
Interesting, because you and him have squared off so many times, and I made the comparison. Sports. I used NBA. Football. If you want to go Peyton Manning and Tom Brady for a while, I could do that. You can go up another different number of sports, whatever. Fill in the blanks. The Olympics are going on. Countries compete against each other, but really the pressure's on him. Interesting, because he's the challenger, and you almost feel like if he doesn't win, that what's the point? It's a last man standing match too. On top of it, I mean, who wants to lose? It's one thing you lose, right? It's 1, 2, 3, but then you lose a last man standing match. I mean, that's some pretty big bragging rights there.
Exactly. And you have to be able to stand as a man. So the question is, Dale, will you be able to stand as a man?
I don't know. It's a good. I would have to ask him.
I don't know.
Okay, well.
But one thing I will prove is that the move that you think you made famous will be your demise. The capitalization on all of it, it will be such a pleasure to feel when the count of 10 hit.
I want to go back to something else you said, and that's the Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling YouTube page. You can go watch the show coming up here on August 24th, and we'll have more coverage for it here before the 24th as well. Stay tuned on Sportzwire Radio for more details. But you said you were slept upon a lot. Obviously, Vegas Storm, everybody talks about him, and Cliff Balcom is a person that a lot of people know. A Franchise Piece is a guy that a lot of people know outside the wrestling world. There's a lot of other names that are mentioned, but you said you are slept on, and I would like to know for the audience and even for your peers in that locker room, who I know are going to be listening to this, why do you feel you are slept on?
I feel I'm slept on for the simple fact that when I first came into this, I was looked at as, again, the sound guy. Why? Because I rap, I do music. So it was like, oh, he's perfect to work the sound. Now, again, I've played my part. I paid my dues. So for me to be at this point is something I deserve. It's not something I just made up. Like, I deserve this. And I'm pretty sure Jermaine could concur.
Oh, I'm gonna get to Mr.
I've been,
Hardwick. I'm
I've
gonna
been with
definitely get to him.
I've been with all those guys like Jermaine Hardwick, Cliff Barkham. I've been in the ring with them all, and they're tremendous. They're phenomenal. You know what I mean? So all my hats always goes off to them, but it's something about this guy. There's something about this guy. This is what the people are gonna say when it comes.
Yeah, and I got to be honest with you. Tonight, I'm getting that sense there is something about you because, you know, I do this every night pretty much. The people in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit, for whatever reason, have decided that they would like to elect me as their voice. So I'm sure it could be debated, but they've elected me to be their voice figuratively and literally with all this movement of all wrestling matters. And I speak with people from all over the place. Sometimes I speak to guys that are, some would say heavy hitters, and then other guys I speak with, I have a backyard wrestling federation. I'm a champion. You have to bring me on, or not that you have to bring me on, but it's all wrestling matters. But there's something about you because you got certainly a character about you. You certainly have something about you as to why people should tune into this match. But you talked about being a sound guy. You talked about obviously you rap. You're now doing podcasting. And was it always the plan then all along for you to go into wrestling? I mean, you're only in this game 2 years. I mean, so you said you were the sound guy. Was the goal always to go into wrestling, or was it always, hey, you know what? I just wanted to go and make music. I mean, because I've interviewed a lot of guys that have done music. I have a friend, sort of casual acquaintance, that had to deal with Sony Records and, had a hit in Mexico. So, I mean, I know a little bit about that world, but was it always the plan then to go from the sound guy to being the champ?
Yes, definitely.
Tell me why.
You have to understand my knowledge of wrestling. It goes way back.
Well, I saw you in my chat on Friday. It definitely sounded like you knew your stuff, but go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely it definitely goes way back. For me, I've always been backyard wrestling. I've been doing that since I was 14.
Okay.
It's just YouTube and all that didn't exist at the time. So yeah. I hate to give my age away, but I'm about that old. But my knowledge of wrestling, it goes way back and it's far beyond. And I've always saw myself doing this, because if it wasn't for my uncle, shout out to my Uncle Reginald.
How you doing, Uncle?
He really like we used to go over his house and all we watched is WCW and WWF and it was always a battle back and forth because I was a WCW guy at first.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, you're gonna probably be shocked at this. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and you'd think Brooklyn was WWF, WWE territory, but right. I leaned to a WCW. WWF was really my third favorite product. I always liked WCW. There was just something about Saturday nights when the Braves didn't play. You'd watch that. I remember as a little kid. I am definitely a little younger than you, and I remember being a little kid. I was very small, and when Thunder was out there on Saturday night, I watched all that stuff. I remember even as a kid, I watched WCW Worldwide before we had New York Mets baseball games on here in New York, and I would watch that as a pregame. So I was always, I watched all of them, all Wrestling Matters, even 25 years ago as a little boy. But, I obviously, WCW was probably my first choice, believe it or not.
Yeah, WCW was mine. Like, I loved it. The Giant. The Giant was like one of my favorite wrestlers.
Also, I was a little peeping Tom. I liked looking at the Nitro girls.
Yeah, I mean, who didn't? Like, come on. Like, the Nitro girls, you couldn't beat them. Like,
Booker T is certainly he did pretty well with one of them. So I mean, he obviously was looking more than anybody else.
There you go. Right there. There you go. Right there. There you go.
But yeah, no, listen, there was a lot with that. So you always wanted to, even though you went into rap, you always wanted to wrestle them. There was always a plan for you. You did backyard wrestling, and then you found this moment being the sound guy, which you used for that opportunity to be where you are now in future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Is that kind of how I read it?
Yes, sir.
That's impressive. Okay, very impressive. Let me get to some comments. I know a lot of people want to say hello. I like to get to them while I can clear the chat a little bit. Zilla is our resident, just says hello to everybody at this point. Zilla, I know will be here because I'm going to be here at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time because I'm going to be with another guy that's kind of like you, though he's probably a little younger. His name is Judas. He is from All Legendary Wrestling here in Marion, Ohio. I'm going to talk to him about his side of the story because, well, he's back and I'm going to give him a chance to talk because I kind of like him, kind of like how I like you right now. Yes, we respect Andre. We're very happy to see him. My buddy, Mr. Ox McCoy, who is out there in the great state of Iowa, who's always bound in blood, reigns in blood, sends all his messages in blood, says Reverend Tom and Andre, good evening. And Ox had messaged me on Instagram, and he was like, oh, you're live on Sportzwire. They're like, oh, I got to check and go watch you. Well, that's why, Ox, thank you for being here. Want to say hello to my very good buddies out there in the great state of Oregon, our friends in Backyard Trampoline Wrestling that had a very successful show on Tuesday, BTW Heat 8. They're closing in on 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm going to have one of their champions, Mr. Comatose, here right after Monday Night Raw. How you guys all doing? Shout out to the gang, RTG, RJS, although those guys aren't getting along at the moment. Tom needs to stare down the barrel of the camera during those intros. Well, I don't know. I don't know how I could stare at the camera. I mean, I think I am looking. I mean, well, Ox, give me the scorecard. Tell me what you think when I do the intros in terms of what I'm looking at. My buddy Jake Dvorak. Jake is one of my favorite guys. He is out there in the beautiful state of Massachusetts. He is getting ready for the All Wrestling Matters Hardcore Tournament. Also, their show, NEW Underground Wrestling. Also, they're going to have Star Class 6 next Saturday. Very excited about that. Another guy that I always love talking to. Good evening, gentlemen. Yes, Zilla. Yes, Ox is here, but let's say hello to Andre. Yes, we're all sorry to hear about your daughter. We're obviously glad she's doing well, but somebody that I don't think you're glad is here. You're not too glad about this guy, Mr. Vegas Storm, the Heart of a Warrior. Now, if I could take your attention to him for a minute, because he's this Heart of a Warrior, never gives up. I'm going to transition into that Rumble. I want to talk about that for a second, but I mean, you talked about being overlooked. You talked about being slept on. This guy right here, I got my pen out here. This guy seems to get talked about quite a bit. That has to irk you, champ. Has to irk you more than meets the eye.
Vegas Storm is explosive. He can be powerful at times. But that's about it. Like, who is he? Like, who is that guy? Like,
he's just a guy I interviewed in James.
He's just a guy. He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's just a guy. And we don't need just a guy as champion. Come on.
And he didn't seem like he thought with his head because, as I'm sure you're aware of, a couple of weeks ago, he was on the show and Mr. Hardcore interrupted and he signs this contract. And the first match he knew, but the second one he didn't know. And I mean, if it was me, right? I mean, I would have thought I would have wanted to get into signing something with looking at what both details were. And he was not worried about it. So maybe, as I continue to say, and as a matter of fact, another guy that actually he addressed me on Facebook. This guy, right? I want to bring this up for a second. I want to get your thoughts because he put something out on Facebook and he talks about what some of the things I said about him, saying, well, he doesn't think with his head and, he's going to show everybody. But does Vegas Storm think with his head, or this Heart of a Warrior thing? It's not going to get him anywhere coming up on August 24th. What would you like to say on some of that?
He has the potential to think with his head. He has the potential to think with his head.
I say,
will he?
I don't know. I mean, you're going to see him in the Rumble. I'm sure you're hoping that's not the case because you're going to see him in that Rumble on August 24th.
I mean, if he thinks with his head, then that'll be perfect because at the end of the day, I'm a thinking guy as well. So it'll be a battle of intelligence.
Well, maybe so are you saying that if he was intelligent, what he should do is when he encounters you in the Rumble is just to eliminate himself to let you obviously continue to do what you do best?
No, see, that's higher intelligence that he's not at. So he's not going to go there. But if he really wants to be that intelligent, then when he enters the Rumble, he needs to come after me.
So you want him to go? Why would you want him to go right after you? Wouldn't you want him to eliminate himself so you can just go on and continue? Because you've been successful in Rumble already.
What's the fun in it?
You want to win.
I know I want to win, but what's the fun in him just eliminating himself? No, we're not gonna do that. Please, come, come one, come all. You know, come one, come all, and over the top rope you go, and then I'll be 2-time Rumble winner.
I was going to bring that up because last year at Ultimatum, you won the Rumble. He was eliminated well before
I even
you
got
were.
there.
I was wondering, does that give you an advantage going into the 24th of August that you've already been a Rumble winner here in future Atlanta Pro Wrestling?
Most definitely. I think it definitely gives me the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think my only, if I have any kind of doubt, would be down to the wire.
Why is that?
Because I never know who's the last. You never know who's coming out last.
But
So
you've won in Rumbles, but you've already you have an advantage. You've won a Rumble already, though.
the win at that Rumble wasn't a satisfying enough win for me.
Well, I'm not going to go there and go bring up the
No,
semantics
no, no,
because
no.
I don't want to go down that road.
No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. But it wasn't
Good.
satisfying enough for me. And this one is more of a hunger. And then you also have to keep in mind, like, I'm coming off of a last man standing match. And I'm only hoping that I be healthy enough to even be
Well,
able
you know, it's funny you said that, champ. And I'm going to put up the Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Instagram page. You know, you and a lot of other people are going to be in 2 matches, and you are in another intense match. You're in this last man standing match. And I brought this up with Mr. Hardcore when he was here a couple weeks ago, and that you're going to be beating each other up. You're going to be barely, should you win, you're going to still have to throw everything you can out there. And then all of a sudden, you have to then go to prepare for this Rumble. I mean, how do you do it? How do you? It's because, you know, when we think about Rumbles now, right? We're all wrestling fans. And usually most people compete in the Rumble itself. So you're in a Rumble, you're in there. Who knows what number you're going to be in, right? Who knows on that? You could be talking about 30, 35 minutes being in a Rumble. I don't know what the time is on it. I mean, obviously it depends on how many people, how long you last, where you get, obviously, as an entrant. But you're going to be nearly killing yourself to keep that worldwide universal championship. Despite what you said about Dale Bourne, he is still going to fight and fight like tooth and nail. And then you got to recover and then go into this Rumble. I mean, your career may never be the same after this. You're fighting in 2 intense matches in one night.
Yes, you're right. You're definitely right. My career will never be the same after this. My career will be better.
Oh, better, because you're going to win both, obviously.
It's going to be better.
So this is going to be the moment that your career is going to be made for a long time.
Listen, August 24th, Declaration of War.
Yes.
I'm walking into the last man standing match. I'm walking out as champion. The Rumble, I'm walking into that Rumble, and I'm eliminating who's ever in my path. So, to be fair, just to give an idea for anybody, if you want to go ahead and eliminate yourself, do it. I wouldn't want to face me neither.
Well, did I not say that? That guys like Vegas Storm, guys like listen, your opponent, who knows if your opponent's back in there, if he gets up, Cliff Balcom, I mean, Franchise Peace, a whole list of others, you know, that's the move they should make.
To be able to make it.
Well, technically, I would imagine he's going to be, I mean, I don't know how he'll do it. I mean, but
I don't think he's going to be able to walk to the ring, let alone win a match. Come on.
Well, it's a match is one thing. Rumble is another thing. Okay, I'll come back to that. I want to get to some people. My very good friend, James Taylor, who just had a clip on Instagram, hit 253,000 views. He had a clip. Yeah, it was, well, I can't really say too much. Well, he posted a Stone Cold video with Stephanie McMahon, and basically some of the things that were said in the Instagram reel, I couldn't repeat here. We're a family station on Sportzwire, but let me just say Stephanie McMahon was mentioned about a certain thing, and, well, let's just say they both were laughing about it, Stone Cold and Stephanie McMahon, but I'll just say go to James's Instagram. You can find out more about it. And James also has a clip on TikTok with 142,000 views recently. So James is a TikTok and YouTube aficionado. He is a personality like no other. He is also the owner of ROEW, and maybe he's scouting for future talent. I'll come back to that as well. Hello, let's go. Let's go. It's the Andre Anomaly. Yes, how you doing, Sunshine? Definitely you are brightening our day here. I got a lot of people that want to say hello. Jake, James, good evening to everybody here as well. Ox says, yep. What's up, Ox? I think you know this guy from Breakpoint Wrestling. He would like to say, how's everyone doing? Yes, we're doing great. We're having a lot of fun right now. I am actually having an interview that's definitely, well, it's not a, let's just say some interviews on Sportswire in the last week and a half. There's been some shows that have been, listen, guys tell me that there are some interviews that, guys, I'm a champion, but this one's not that. This one I'm into. And I got a feeling this is going to be a very good next 45 minutes or so. So yes, my buddy Mac 10, the landlord of Sportswire Radio, is here, and he liked to then say, oh, it's me. Yes, how you doing, Mac? Nice to see you. Yes, come hall. But let me get to some more comments. I see the comments are starting to bring up here. I think clearly with my head, actually, any person would have made the same decision. It's a 50-50 type of scenario where even if I lose the championship match, I'd have my shot at redemption. Then he goes on, I don't need a championship to show fans who I really am. It's a reason why people know who I am. It's because when I show up, I get work done. What do you say to all that?
It sounds good. It sounds good. That's all I'm saying. It sounds good. And as far as needing a championship, I think you do need one more than me. I will say that. But right now, who's champion? Me. So of course you don't need a championship when you've never had one. There we go. Moving on.
Okay, so basically, he won't never be a champion then.
He might be a champion. Who knows? Maybe I'll retire. And he can be champion.
I think you're just getting started.
Exactly. So he's got a long time to wait.
I say hello to Mac. Mac, I definitely love having you here. I think for now we're talking future Atlanta pro wrestling, but definitely I enjoy when our landlord is here, Sportswire Radio. He is always here and always one of our favorites for sure. Mac 10, yes, we're going to move on. Mac 10 is a very respected hardcore and deathmatch wrestler, though. I would just put that out there. Mac. Yeah, let's say hello to Mac. We love Mac. Mac, he mixes it up with some of the best in the hardcore scene, and I think Sunshine just doesn't know enough of Mac. So I'm going to definitely cut Sunshine some big slack. Mac is a guy, just look him up. He's wrestled some of the biggest names in the hardcore deathmatch circuit. He's definitely, we love Mac, but he's laughing. That's why Mac just, we're going to give that a pass. Words are written for a reason. They don't mean anything. However, actions speak louder than the loudest person in the room. Andre, I'll see you on the 24th, my friend. Boy, Vegas Storm with the, I guess, words written for a reason line, huh?
Man, he can talk. He can talk.
But can he walk the walk?
He's pretty good talker, though.
He can talk. We love to. Oh, he can definitely talk. I know he was one of my better talkers in the last month of Sportswire, but can he walk the walk?
If I had nervousness in my body, my whole body would be shaking right now because of what he just said. Woo! That's some tough words. See you on the 24th, my friend.
So you're not nervous at all then?
No.
Okay, just checking. I think Mac is laughing. We're all having a good one here. Oh, we have that video is at another one at 700,000. Love that. Yes, and congratulations, 86,000 followers on TikTok. Maybe you could give the champion some TikTok followers. You know what? While I'm at it, let me give a plug.
Yes, my page sucks.
Well, don't say that. Nobody's page ever sucks. But if you want to follow Andre on TikTok, that's where he is on TikTok. That's where he is on Instagram. That's where Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling is also on Instagram and Facebook. So make sure you support them. And who knows, maybe James actually has his own show also called the Nemesis Sessions, and maybe he'll interview you one of these days. You just never know. But that's okay. I always do the interviews on Sportswire. But let me get to also a number of things. I have a lot more comments. I see them pulling up here. Well, Sunshine, I would just say let's obviously trust me on this one. Trust me, but let's focus on Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling.
Right there, that's a big fan.
Yeah, yes, I can see that. But I want to say hello to one of my friends, Mr. Chase Wakefield. He is the Bitcoin billionaire. I was speaking to Chase on Thursday, he calls me up, and I was in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. I was watching a pickleball game. And I was thinking to myself, should I talk about pickleball? Nah, I want to talk wrestling every night on Sportswire Radio. I don't want to talk pickleball on Sportswire Radio. But Chase Wakefield was talking to me about, for whatever reason, his experiences, and he's also getting married next year. Chase, congratulations on that. Him and his beautiful, soon-to-be better half, Janie. We say hello to Chase Wakefield, and Chase will be back here in a few weeks. Yes, I do like the hardcore tournament. Yes, the 24th. Yes, Mac will. That's why I said Mac will be on the 24th in Worcester, Massachusetts. I was glad that we could confirm that. And I think, Mac, you're going to be in New York City, right, the next day, because the day before that, right? Because I was hoping that we can meet in person. But okay, let's move on. Let me see. I haven't held a championship in over 10 years, and I don't need one to make my name relevant. Well, you have a clip with 700,000 views. I think that you have a lot of people that know who you are for sure.
Exactly.
No, Mac, the show tonight, we're going to talk Future Atlanta just because I want to promote the show. But definitely, I appreciate you. I want to give Andre a chance to talk for a little bit here on the air. But I promise you, we're going to see you this week for sure. But we appreciate you and all you do. But I support the Anomaly. Yes, we definitely believe in him. But also, Vegas Storm is not a match. He needs a challenge. Mac is in the hardcore deathmatch scene. I promise you. Let's just move on. Want to say hello to my very good friend, Mr. Levi McDaniel. How you doing? I was watching the main event of the IMF's last show earlier today, this morning. So I'm very, very much appreciated of your support, Levi, and great job, guys, on your hard work. Tom, I think you are the number one interviewer for all of wrestling. I think I might retire. No, I think, James, I want to retire. I've got the guy to replace me. He's a rapper. He's a podcaster in his own right. This is the guy. He's got charisma. We have finally someone on Sportswire with charisma here, and this is the guy I found. But I don't know. But I don't know if I'll be able to retire yet. Mac said he appreciates that. Yes, thank you, Mac, and I want to see you here coming up. I think the 23rd. Just let me know. And
I just want to say, don't take the fans' comments out of context. I didn't say that.
Yes, no, we know that. No, trust me. I actually am going to back you up on this one because I know Mac 10 and I watch all his stuff in the ring. But he will be on the 23rd. No, I was talking about his show. Yes, the 24th is Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Yes, that's correct. But we're all laughing at it. Yes, 23rd. Let me know. I definitely want to hit you up. And if you're in New York, Mac, and if you're in Manhattan, I got to buy you some pizza. So hopefully that's the least I could do, right? For all these past several months on Sportswire, you let me buy you a couple slices of pizza. Maybe you won't beat me up with a kendo stick and some barbed wire and throw me in some chairs. So I think he appreciates that now. So we're all water under the bridge. Thank you, guys. I would definitely love to come out to Hotlanta at some point and face Andre. Well, never say never. I know Chase is working on a couple different things. I'll come back to some of that, but let me ask you on the mindset. I want to talk about your podcast. I want to talk about music in a second, but so you're working 2 matches on the 24th. I mean, have you ever worked 2 matches to this level before in your career?
No. This is actually this August 24th is a real test right now to where my skills stand and where I lie in the ring. And I'm going out on August 24th and make sure that I leave it all out there. Everything I came with, I'm gonna make sure I leave it all out there.
So what's that like, knowing that you're going into something that you've never gone into at that level? What is that like for you and such? I mean, I know it's a lot on the line. You're defending this title, but you got 2 really brutal, exhausting things ahead. It's almost like, to me, it's like going into the playoffs. If you're a sports fan, teams go into the playoffs and they, there's a certain, no matter what you're going to say, obviously, I know you're not going to tell us the preparation and things like that. But it's a totally different dynamic. It's a different animal. I have a background in, college basketball, and I interviewed a lot of guys, and I would talk to them and they would tell me some of those things. Is it a different mindset at the very least for you going into the 24th?
Yes, it's definitely a different mindset all the way around because it's a last man standing and a Royal Rumble. So I know for sure, like, I have to definitely prepare for these 2 matches at separate times. And for the past few weeks, I've been preparing for the matches in separate increments, just so I can be prepared for it coming into it.
Let me ask you a question on this, and I know it's not your call. And you could have the last man standing match, and the Rumble could be right after that. I mean, is that something you've prepared for? That there's a possibility you could be the guy that has the match, and then it's the Rumble?
Possibly. I would say possibly.
Because the whoever has a match, right, and then has to go into the Rumble right after. I mean, they're in the most, I would have to say, difficult situation because whoever it might be, they're going to have a match, and depending on where you're, at least you get a couple of matches to let yourself maybe, I don't know, take a break, maybe give yourself another breath, maybe allow yourself to prepare, at least get back into some type of mindset. But you could be that guy along with Dale Bourne to have the match and then go right back out there in the Rumble.
I mean, the thing is, like, you don't know the card alone. Like, my match could be the first match, and I can actually have, enough time to breathe before the Rumble. Or my match could be the match that leads into the Rumble, where, after that match, that's when the Rumble starts. No time to breathe. It could be either or, but I have to be prepared for all of it just in case.
But that's still whoever goes out there, they're at the biggest disadvantage of this.
Most definitely. I think a few of us are really going to be at a big disadvantage when it comes to this match. But if you're really that hungry to prove yourself, then you got to learn to put the disadvantage aside and work through it, or it could be your demise.
What do you think about Mr. Hardcore as general manager and the way he set this all up?
Evil genius. He's a real evil genius. I can tell when it comes to his booking. And I'm really eager and excited to see what he books next after this. Like, because I feel like what we are painting for Declaration of War is definitely going to be something special. Like it's going to be one of those shows you see, like, they might be on to something. These guys really put their effort into it, and you can tell the hard work is there.
Is this the biggest show then you think future Atlanta Pro Wrestling is about to put on to date?
Definitely. This is definitely going to be the biggest show because of the simple fact of how it's structured and what CEO decided to make his calls and structure the whole show. It's definitely going to be one of the biggest.
How influential has Jermaine Hardwick been to your career? You obviously came into this. He was your first opponent, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago. What has he meant to you?
I mean, he means a lot. Like, Jermaine Hardwick found me. Like, and I just happened to one day decide to, do some research on backyard wrestling and kind of see that we have anything in Atlanta. And he hit me up one day, left me a message. He invited me out to the show. Matter of fact, our first match was when he invited me out, and I was just coming out there to see what was going on. And he actually liked how I move in the ring and everything I did as far as a wrestler. So he made me a part of the team. So I got to give my hats out to Jermaine. I wouldn't be here without him.
He's meant a lot to you, and it means a lot to you to be out there.
That's my oos.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, let me get to some comments, and I'm about to actually say something after I get to some comments. You're actually going to be in for something. Well, I'm just going to say that stay tuned for. Okay. You're good. They won't let me okay the airplane with all that. Okay, good. All right. Good. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Manhattan on the 23rd. I'm excited about that. Okay. Yes, he's won a couple titles before in GWC Intensity. He's won the ATAP championship, the mid-state title he held at Famous Super. But I do have a belt. Know why? Because I didn't come from another company with a title. But again, if you need a belt to call yourself a champion, that says a lot about you. What do you want to say to that?
He's cutting below the jugular.
Why?
Really trying to make this personal, ain't you? I won't comment on it. I'll say that for another day.
So it sounds to me like, is that politics at hand? Is that what he's trying to do to there? Is he trying to
Nah,
lob?
I think he's trying to bait me in. He don't need a belt to be champion. Okay, then
No.
prove
So is
it.
he basically telling you that he's the champion without having a belt? That what he's
So
trying to
here's
tell
the,
you right
the
now?
bigger question that needs to be asked is,
Hmm.
okay, you don't need a belt to be champion. Why are you trying to win a Rumble? The Rumble is for the briefcase to cash in for a championship. Please make
Because
sense here.
I'll tell you why. Because I think that first match he's going to be in, considering how many people are in there and what that is, he knows that his odds of winning that are not too good. Don't you think?
They are not too good, but is he gonna win it? That
The
is the
percentages, but mathematically in that match, his percentage is very low. I mean, I'm not good at most things. I know nothing about anything, but the odds in that are, I think, are basically less than 15%, if I'm not mistaken.
more than likely it probably is. And you know what? That's totally up to him and what he feels. But one thing certain, two things for sure is you saying that you don't need a belt to call yourself a champion.
Hmm.
You wouldn't enter a rumble trying to win a belt to call yourself a champion. Like it doesn't make sense. Like your whole statement redacts itself, and I will not even
Do you
begin.
think it's because he knows in that rumble, he knows where he's going to land in that rumble?
That's interesting because I don't even know where I'm gonna land in the rumble. I
But
don't even
maybe
know.
he
I could
has
be the
inside,
first
but
one out.
maybe he has inside information. I don't know. I'm
He
just, I
possibly
mean,
got inside information. Again, I
all right.
won't.
Well,
I,
let me.
my whole thing is I'm going into the rumble. I'm gonna do what I do, and that's
Mhm.
win and become two-time rumble champion as
Yeah.
well as worldwide universal championship.
Oh, you definitely are. Let me get to a couple of comments, and I have a major surprise for you. A major surprise. I stepped in the ring with some of the very best in this industry. I have earned the name champion. I have earned the title Heart of a Warrior, and I'll be glad to prove that to you come the 24th. And then obviously Sunshine gives you some sunshine and says, "Oh, Vega, he doesn't need a belt to call himself a champion. And after the 24th, you will see why. Have the aromatherapy bath ready." Oh boy, I haven't heard one of those in a while. You're going to need it. Vega has no odds of winning it all. Well, mathematically, I don't know what the odds he'll have in that Rumble, but the odds will obviously be lower than he'll have in that six-person match. But, I have a surprise for you, and I have to bring this surprise up because it's actually something in future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. And, you've mentioned this name already, and it actually is an important surprise. So for those that are listening and watching, this one I actually have to bring the personal because it's actually future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. So I actually have to bring them on. Usually sometimes I'll ask my guests, "Oh, do you want them on? Do you need them on?" But in this case, I actually have to bring the guest on because if I don't, well, you're going to be out of a job, and let's just say, well, I can't be called All Wrestling Matters anymore.
Well,
So
let's bring the guests up there.
he's here. He is the general manager of Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. I told you, the only Anomaly, Andre Anomaly. I had a surprise and announcement for you. I'm going to let the general manager take it away, and the floor is yours.
As a famous demon that I am, you talk about me enough and I will show up. So I have an announcement for you, Mr. Anomaly. You see, I took your words to heart, you being overlooked and all, put on the back burner, said that you were just going to stick to audio. Well, as you know back then, I wasn't there, but I'm here now. So, my announcement is could be shocking. I like to think it is. In October, the event after Declaration of War, you will go one on one with the winner of the Sinister Six match, which
Oh,
means that you, sir, are now having a championship match in October.
oh,
And that is for the future Atlanta Pro Wrestling heavyweight title.
oh,
Take
Mister.
that as an apology, take that as a mistake made right, take it however you wish. but that's just a little bit more on your brain before August 24th.
Mr. Anomaly. I mean, this is. I mean, I'm stunned. I don't even know. I mean, you have to say something for the audience because this is obviously Mr. Hardcore has definitely shown why he is hardcore and demon-like and evil and everything else in between. And Mr. Anomaly, I mean, what would you like to say? You're actually rather speechless right now, which is unlike you so far for the first hour.
So let me get this straight. There's a last man standing match. Win the last man standing match. I win the Royal Rumble. And then I go into a title match.
Yeah.
Sober.
Absolutely. So it pretty much says that either say, well, hypothetically, and we'll say it's a parallel universe. But let's say Del Bourne wins. Well, then you don't have that belt. And then let's say that you don't win the Battle Royal. Well, then you have no shot. But as I'm getting older, I'm starting to look like Santa Claus. I like to give gifts throughout the year. So
You look
why
rather
not give you
cool tonight,
something after that?
I accept.
Good. I mean, you didn't have a choice. You're going to do it anyway. But great. I'm glad you accept.
I can't wait.
Oh, me neither. Because now you have 6 other people you got to think about who's going to win that match. And then you got to prep for that person. Luckily, you get a month and a half in between every event. So, in a way, it's not like you don't have prep time.
You can always come on Sportswire before.
Absolutely. Remember to hit like, that, subscribe here on Sportswire.
Well, I appreciate that, but you're obviously a busy man. But Mr. Anomaly, you're really quiet right now. This has been rather unlike you tonight. You've been, I don't know what to say, Mr. Anomaly. I mean, you're obviously thinking about this. You did say you were thinkings, man. You did say you were a man of high intelligence, but this is really like, I guess, I don't know how, maybe you're channeling your own Plato. I don't know.
But remember, just remember though, before I go, because I don't want to take up all your interview time. That's not what I'm here for. Just remember though, that whoever does win the Battle Royal, whether you win or lose, they could cash in on you. So remember that.
Mr. Anomaly. Mr. Anomaly. This is, I don't know what to say, but you rather, the whole world has changed. You had the whole world in your hands, and now, I don't know.
Slam back down to earth.
Say his name, he appears. Mr. Hardcore appears, and well, he compared himself to Santa Claus, but I'm not quite sure if it's jolly old Saint Nick with Christmas gifts to be put under the tree, but rather a maybe lump of coal you just received. Is it a lump of coal, or eggnog and cookies need to be left out on the table? So maybe, just maybe, you can get that gift you want.
This is a lump of coal that I'm about to turn into a diamond.
Huh.
That's what I love to hear.
Star Hardcore, I hope you know what you're doing with this.
20 years? Oh, I know what I'm doing.
And I
And it's
cannot.
bringing entertainment to the people. That's
Well, this
what
has
I'm
been
doing.
rather entertaining. So I will say, just to break the fourth wall for a second, there have been some shows on Sportswire. I will have to admit, the last week and a half, that not everyone was entertaining. This one tonight, I feel like I'm finally back in prime time.
I will let you go and let y'all discuss all the new details and information that's dropped here on the table.
20 minutes. Mr. Hardcore, you always come with something to the table to bring, and I think it's good news for Andre Anomaly, but I'm still confused, but that's okay. We'll try to decipher it out here. And I love the new red suit. Obviously, the colors match you. And I appreciate the red color tonight. Red looks good on you.
Thank you so much, sir. You have a great night.
I'll try.
Have a good
That was Mr. Hardcore, our future Atlanta Pro Wrestling general manager. Who, I mean, uh, what do you think? What do you think as I put my light on in the background? What do you think? Because I'm trying to decipher where you stand on this, and I still don't know.
Remember that pressure you was talking about earlier?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's been added. Now the pressure's on. Now the pressure's on. But I hope he didn't make a mistake.
But you can't look past going into October because you have so much on the line now.
Right.
I mean, this is totally.
I mean, October is October. October will take care of itself.
Well, they say October surprises, and you got the October surprise on August 4th. I mean,
wow. Wow.
So what are you going to do?
It's a lot of mental preparation I got to get into. A lot of mental preparation. But right now, my only focus is August 24th and retaining this championship and hopefully raising both hands with championship gold in it.
Is that going to be harder now?
It's definitely going to be a task. That is definitely going to be. It's going to be a task.
A task that was a lot easier.
I'm always
a task that was a lot easier 5 minutes ago.
Right. But, again, the weight of the world is always on my shoulders.
You talked about it from the very beginning. You talked about your daughter. You talked about other things in life you won't go into. You talked about your own journey is very different than most that go into this circuit. And now, though, you've got some really, really difficult odds ahead. And I want to, before I get to some comments, I'd like to get a couple of plugs. I've got about 25 minutes or so here with Andre Anomaly here. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm going to be here at 10:30 with Judas from All Legendary Wrestling. So you want to tune to that one. But in the meantime, this is the YouTube page of Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. They're also on Instagram. So if you want to watch the show, get in touch with more information, you can do that here and talk to the guys firsthand, including Andre Anomaly. Let me get to some comments. I think Mac 10 is having fun. I will see. Maybe we'll let Mac 10 on after the show. We'll have to see. He wants to speak to Mr. Hardcore. I'm sure I can arrange that. We can definitely arrange that after the show. Yep. And I like where things are going in Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling as well. I agree with you on that. Sunshine's very confident in you. We'll see if you got sunshine all on your eyes and everything in the rearview mirror coming up. Michael Blackheart, who was supposed to have been here a few weeks ago, wants to say, though, good luck to you, champ. So that's nice of Michael.
Thank you.
Very happy to have Michael here, tuned in. So I guess we'll have to find out. But, before I come back to that in a few final thoughts, I guess maybe you'll have to go and, I don't know, do one of the things you do to maybe help you prepare. And that's maybe write some music or come up with some music, because maybe you'll have to figure out where you go and communicate that in your music and talk about that maybe and what you do, because I'm going to put that up right on the screen here shortly.
Definitely.
Well, tell me about it. Tell me about your music. Tell me about performing, and, how is that an outlet for you?
Music has always been an outlet for me because I've always been a fan of words and being able to play with words. And language arts, again, a favorite thing of mine in school. Like my teacher told me to write short stories and turn them in. I would always write the most gruesome story I could think of. And being able to play with words is just a joy of mine. Like, and I love music. Like it's something that always been with me about as long as wrestling.
Does wrestling inspire you to write music, or music inspire you to go into wrestling, or, tell me.
They actually, there really was no connection there for me with wrestling and music. Like, it's always been separate for me. Like, it's two different worlds. I'm one person in one world and another person in another.
Okay, because some guys I speak to do this, say, yeah, there's absolutely a connection. They're all the same. They go in together, but you're actually totally different. Maybe that helps you perform
Yeah,
in
my
both these
music,
worlds.
my music is more of me outside of the ring. This is more of who Leandre is.
Gotcha.
That's what my music is. It's more of who Leandre is, and more of some of the things I've went through in life. And probably I went to a party one time and had fun, such fun that I had to make a song about it. Like it be things like that. Like I go through, I talk about family issues. I talk about um different things like politics. I'm very controversial when it comes to my music. Very
Well,
controversial.
you're on Sportswire. There's been a lot of controversy on this platform. So I would say at this point, you're always, welcome to, tell us, what you feel. But obviously, in terms of the music, it's interesting because, one of my buddies is Alan Michaels, who, had done music like you. He raps a little bit, and a lot of it was like on his, mental health and his state of things. But you kind of have the maybe not quite the same, I guess, side from it or expression, but it's still music is totally unrelated to wrestling, which I just found fascinating because again, guys tell me all the time, well, wrestling and music, yeah, they're absolutely the same thing and such. So I think that's, interesting. So you in totally two different mindsets. You could never kind of be in the same frame to do both successfully. Then pretty much.
No.
Okay.
No.
No. Please let us know because that's, there are people. That's why I asked you, and this is some of your music here. If you'd like to actually get a chance to listen to some of it, you have a whole bunch of links here. I've listened to some of the stuff. You have a lot of talent. You have a lot of abilities to do some great things. And if you ever want to have your music played, I have an internet radio station right below. So if you have the MP3 or MP4, we'll put it in the old station there. It's a free internet radio station that I put together called sportswireradio.org. And if you like to hear music, you like to hear talk, you like to hear a whole list of other things, you have a chance here to do that right here on our platform. 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're actually simulcasting this show right now on sportswireradio.org. So check that out. Michael also wants to say, keep your head on the swivel, the 24th champ. He wishes you a lot of luck. That's good. We'll see what Michael does in the ring as well. And also, I've noticed you've gotten into some podcasting a little bit now.
I'm trying to figure it out. A little bit.
What has inspired you to want to do podcasting a little bit?
I just came to a point where like I would do these short little TikToks on my views on the WWE PLEs. It really started from there. Like after I started doing that, I started noticing like I was getting traction and people were really responding to it. Like some people didn't like my comments, some did, so after that, I was just like, you know what, maybe I should just try a little Instagram podcast, see where it goes from there. So like every now and then, like I do these random ass podcasts where, sometimes people will join in, sometimes people don't join in, and I just sit there and I just give my thoughts on certain things.
How has that helped you in terms of expressing yourself as a wrestler?
It's helping me to not be so camera shy, because that was a big thing of mine. Like I really particular about the camera, so it's helped me break out the shell of being camera shy. It's shown me that I can really express myself in a way that, I couldn't do through music.
It's funny you said that you're camera shy, and most people tonight wouldn't have thought that you were camera shy.
Well, I got used to it now, so I kind of done figured out how it works.
Okay, well that's good. You certainly do well, and obviously some of the stuff is on Instagram. You have another Instagram page that you have some of this podcast experience. You can definitely check out some of that, and WWE PLEs and everything else in between. So I definitely am excited to see what that is, and I'm going to follow you on TikTok when we're off the air. And how about another 15 or so minutes with Andre Anomaly, who's also been announced now that coming up at the next show in October for Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. He's going to be in a World Championship match. That's on top of what he's going to deal with 2 matches coming up here at Declaration of War. He's going to be defending that title. He holds the Worldwide Universal Championship in the Last Man Standing match. He's also going to be in that Rumble to determine who gets that briefcase to cash in on that championship of any sort that they like. So a lot going on there. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Please follow Andre on Instagram and TikTok and support him and support Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. We certainly support them. Okay, so obviously I got some of that in the screen. I want to get to a few other general thoughts of business. So obviously we've talked a lot. I feel the conversation is obviously going to shift to what happens in October. First, we have to get to August, and let's get your final words for Dale Bourne going into Declaration of War, Last Man Standing match.
Dale Bourne, if you make the mistake of coming into this match laid back, unpressed, unfazed, that will be your demise. You see, this is bigger than just a last man standing match. This is more than just a championship on my shoulder. This is what a match is supposed to be. And the title of the match is Last Man Standing. So, will you be the last man standing? Or will I still be undisputed worldwide universal champion? I see you on the 24th, buddy.
Ooh, I tell you what, can't come any sooner. Less than 3 weeks from now, you're going to certainly want to go and tune in to what Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling has to offer. I always ask this question to people that come on the show, and I want to ask you it also because there is still some months left in the year. And what are your goals for the rest of the year coming up?
Well, I got a few things that I got lined up right now. I'm finna get ready to drop my album on the 27th of August called Asylum. And it's exclusively on BandLab. So if you get the BandLab out, make sure you follow me on BandLab.
I'll put that link up here again right now.
This album right here, I've put work into a lot of my projects, and I'm proud of a lot of my projects, but this one in particular is a different sound for me, all put all together. And I'm really proud of it. Like I played it for my family proud of it. They ready for it. So hopefully, this will be the one that really stands out for me.
Well, you're going to have my support. I'm going to obviously check the album out. That's going to be out in 3.5 weeks from now. And are there anything any artist or any type of things that inspire you musically then?
Man, it's so many. Like I get inspiration from a lot of artists, young artists, old school music. Like I get inspiration from a lot. But for me, when I approach music, I approach it in a way that, okay, what does this beat tells me? What am I feeling in this beat? And if I can't find no feeling in it, maybe it's just not the day for that. I could revisit the beat 2-3 days later and be like, oh, you know what? I feel like this. And boom, there you go.
Is it hard to come up with music sometimes?
No. That I honestly can do that in my sleep.
Okay. No, because some people tell me, I'm on writer's block and it takes me, days, and I need to just come back to it. I remember my dad played the drums, and he used to write a lot, and he also used to he always would try to write a book, and sometimes he thought he had like the greatest book to write, and he couldn't finish it. Sometimes people, they can come up with things and it takes some time. So, that's here nor there. That's the page. August 27th, the album drops, and we'll definitely have you here next month. And Dale Bourne will not be the last man standing. Well, we're going to find out. And I'm very excited about Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, and I hope that we can see more with Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling and other people. But let me ask you, if you had 1 or 2 moments in your wrestling career, I know it's young so far, but if there was 1 or 2 moments that stood out most, what would they be?
Definitely winning the Rumble, because that moment of flipping the last man out of the ring and the excitement I heard when I won. Like it was that can't be replicated nowhere else like that moment alone. Like I loved it that moment. Um you brought up Cliff. I also gotta take my hat off to Cliff because Cliff is a guy who introduced me, like gave me that full feel introduction to welcome to Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling because we was in a match one time and I think it was like everybody for themselves. And we had discussed in the back, he was like, hey, he was like, hey, we're gonna go at it, but don't come at me just yet. So me being young, me being pompous, and I'm gonna come at him anyway. So when I tried to come at him, he was like, no, no. So he knocked me to the ground, and when he knocked me to the ground, he picked up a chair. He was like, welcome to Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Bow! That moment, it was a moment like I'm home. Like I didn't feel like the pain from the chair was nothing to just being welcome. Like I felt so welcome. So shout out to Cliff for that, but I still owe you a receipt on that.
Cliff Balcom, a man that I know I owe something to come on to Sportswire. I haven't got a chance to connect with him, but I will personally connect with him maybe now after this because you said something about him. And I know. Trust from GWC Intensity, and I have to obviously get to that. Speaking of GWC Intensity, speaking of all-time greats, he's going to be here 2 weeks from tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern time. The one and only Skrilla. The one and only Skrilla is going to be here live August 19th, 9 o'clock Eastern time. You really want to talk about prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage. Skrilla is a guy that always is in prime time. He's done acting. He's been in MLW. He's obviously had his history with Mr. Hardcore, and he's going to be here live.
And he also used to rap.
Yes, he's done. Well, he's done a lot of things, but I'm going to speak to him about it. He's decided that it's finally time for him to come to Sportswire, maybe with a little prodding from Mr. Dragon and Mr. Hardcore. And I have to ask you about Mr. Dragon. Have you gotten a chance to speak to Mr. Dragon at all?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, never say never. Oh, I'm sure you will speak with him soon enough, sooner rather than later. Okay, I think I pretty much got almost everything except I want to go and say two things. Is there anything that you want to say to people that are hearing the only Andre Anomaly for the first time as to why they should come on and support you in this journey?
Really, you should come support me because I'm one for the people. I've always been for the people. You know, I stand by family, so of course I'm for the people. You know, so and on top of that, Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling has the absolute best. So why not support?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Listen, Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling is definitely a place that I would like other people to go and support as well. And maybe we'll see people with other places in Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling work with them. And I want to shout out again Jermaine Hardwick. I want to thank, obviously, Mr. Hardcore. And we'll see you in action coming up here on August the 24th, which is now 20 days from now. And I definitely want to bring you back after the show. I definitely want to talk to you now, especially with the October announcement coming up. But until then, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, or say. I pass the baton to you, my friend, and the floor is yours, champ.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you, Mr. Bryce, for having me on. This has been really the most fun I've ever had in a minute. So,
thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you.
Give a shout out to everybody who's been supporting me, man. I got to give a shout out to my city, Atlanta, Georgia. You know, the West.
Oh, love Atlanta. Love Atlanta.
You know, shout out to Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Shout out to the boss, the CEO, Jermaine Hardwick. Shout out to everybody at Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling. Man, listen, love, live life, and always remember absolute positive energy.
Amen. Couldn't agree with you on that. I absolutely agree. And I'll also say, if you want to follow, that's his Instagram page. Also, check him out on TikTok. He's also going to be a part of Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling's upcoming show, Declaration of War. And I think the war treaty has been declared. And boy, I can't wait to see what happens in that last man standing match against Dale Bourne. I can't wait to see the Rumble. And now October, who knows? The way things are going, Andre Anomaly could be the worldwide Universal Champion still. He could win the Rumble. And on top of that, be the Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. Boy, Comatose may claim he's a triple belt winner. This guy might be a Rumble winner and a maybe two belt, Andre. He might be the only two belt holder in Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling, the only two belt holder in the city of Atlanta. Boy, Atlanta wins multiple championships here with Andre Anomaly in action. Falcons fans, please take note of that. But
believe it.
Yeah, believe it. Is the Falcons need to have a better year after all the moves they've made. But that's a different conversation for a different time. My friend, congratulations on all of the success. I'm very excited about the show ahead on August the 24th. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity here, and looking forward to seeing what happens afterwards. And thank you very much. You definitely showed why you should have been here. You definitely showed why you should not be slept upon. And you definitely, I think, have shown here in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform, All Wrestling Matters, Sportzwire Radio, that you definitely are here, and you're definitely a part of the team and the movement.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling Worldwide Universal Champion, Andre Anomaly. He is going to be in the ring August the 24th. He is doing double duty. And speaking of double duty, I'm going to be doing that here tonight because my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. If you're on sportswireradio.org, I'm going to go take a break for a little bit, come back here in about an hour and a half with Judas of All Legendary Wrestling. I'll talk to you about him and more. And if you're on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and X, thank you so much for joining in. You'll be back here with us in a little under 2 hours from now. And I want to thank one more time Jermaine Hardwick and Mr. Hardcore from Future Atlanta Pro Wrestling for granting us coverage. And until then, I'll see everybody in a little while in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, Sportswire Radio.